Hello, hello, and welcome back to Alchemical Serenity, the podcast that takes you on a journey through the woods, across the fields and moors, down to the beach, where we can sit around a campfire and talk all things pagan, druidry and witchy in a way that works for your path, your journey, and in this experience of being human. My name is Carolyn and I've been treading this path for over 40 years and I love sharing my experiences, and one day they might help somebody find their path. So if you're already a subscriber, thank you for coming back once again. But if you're new to the channel, welcome. Grab a seat, stick your AirPods in, headphones on, cup of your favourite brew, sit back and listen as I talk today all about a herb called plantain. I have already covered this plant in a very small way at the very end of my podcast on nettle. But I thought this one, we need to go a lot deeper. So if you're familiar with plantain, there are two types. If you have a fairly old garden or you like to take foraging walks, you'll probably recognise both of them. The first is Plantago Major. Now that has the large wide leaves, also known as broadleaf plantain, and it's kind of wavy around the edges with a chunky stalk, and the leaves grow in a rosette from the base of the plant, and each leaf is about 2 to 8 inches or 5 to 20 centimetres in size. Then there's the ribwort or narrow leaf plantain, which has a long leaf that can grow from 6 to 8 inches or 15 to 45 centimetres in height. They've got a greenish white flower to both of them with purple stamens, and they grow on both types of plantain, and they're quite densely packed stems, and they grow to about a height of 16 to 8 inches depending on where the plant is growing. And obviously they are in the Plantagenaceae that's my easy way of saying it. It's probably completely incorrect, but it doesn't really matter. Family. Now, there are several types of edible plantain plant, but I'm going to concentrate on the two that are most commonly known to most people. So, history and folklore of plantain. Well, it was once called Englishman's foot or white man's foot, and this is probably due to the seeds sprouting absolutely everywhere as the Europeans took it with them across the Atlantic Ocean. Now, here in Britain, the Anglo-Saxon word for it was actually whey bread, and they used it to make a kind of a paste of plantain and egg white, and they'd place it on their foreheads with wool to cure a headache. Highlanders called it slanlus, the healing plant, and used it as a vulnerary. These are plants used for healing wounds. Now, to find out how many lies someone has told, they also said that you could pull off a leaf and count the number of ribs on the leaf, and however many ribs there were within that leaf was how many lies somebody had told. It was also called soldier's herb as it was used as a field dressing. Growing plantain. Both types of plantain like full sunlight, and they grow pretty much anywhere. You can even dig it up before it goes to seed and you'll still find it has self-seeded again. Now, I have lots of the ribwort in my lawn and major on my patio where it grows out the gaps between each of the slabs. Now, I suppose it can be seen by many people as a really annoying weed, as it does like to grow absolutely anywhere, and usually anywhere where you don't want it to. It'll grow back very quickly, so if you've removed all the leaves for drying, it will rejuvenate itself. For the last 2 years, we have tried doing that no mow May, and by the time we got to June and the, oh my goodness, someone find me a machete, I can't see the garden, it was easier to just mow the plantain out with the lawn and then let it come back again, and it did so very successfully. Now, if you don't cultivate it for any reason, it will just go to seed quickly, and unless you want a garden full of the stuff, I suggest harvesting and drying it as quickly as possible, and it will grow in most climates in the range, the sort of zone of 3 to 10. The UK, we're about 8. Edible uses are plantain has vitamin K due to its green leaves, and I've mentioned this before in my podcast about nettle, but it's also a coagulant, which means anyone taking blood thinners or at risk of blood clots should not ingest any part of plantain, but it can be used externally. Now, the leaves and seeds are edible, so if you are okay to eat them and you want to give them a try, gather them while they're very young, and you can eat them in salads. If they get bigger and tougher and they go to seed, then the leaves are not particularly nice at all. But you can use them if you want to in cooked soup and in stews. The seeds are sometimes ground into flour, that type of floury substance, but they're so tiny it would just take masses of it and such energy to do it. So to be honest, I can't be doing with that kind of faff anyway. But if I was going to eat it myself, which I haven't done, I've only ever used it for salves, I would probably use it to perhaps make a soup and do like potato, maybe in a leek soup, and perhaps put some plantain in it, maybe something like that. Medicinal uses. Plantain leaves and seeds have been used in traditional medicine to soothe skin irritations, to treat respiratory issues, alleviate digestive problems, and promote wound healing. They are an anti-inflammatory, so the plantain contains compounds with an anti-inflammatory properties, making it useful for reducing inflammation and relieving any form of discomfort. They are also antimicrobial. Now, some species of plantain exhibit antimicrobial properties, which can help fight against bacteria, viruses, and fungi. Respiratory support. Now, it is known for soothing effects on the respiratory system and has been used to ease coughs, bronchitis, asthma, those kind of things that are really irritating. Digestive aid. It can help to alleviate any digestive issues such as gastritis, ulcers, diarrhea, providing relief and promoting a much better gastro health. Healing wounds. Also, you can use it for sores, insect bites and rashes. A poultice made from crushed plantain leaves for minor wounds, sores and insect bites or stings, which is what I mentioned this originally when I was talking about nettle stings. And we were when I did my podcast on nettle and said if you've been stung by a nettle, then you could use it, plantain out the garden, and which is obviously what sort of made me think, well, let's continue this plantain. Now, it'll ward off infection, it will help stop bleeding and reduce obviously inflammation, which we already know about, taking away the sting or the itch from any kind of bite, or if you are in an area that's prone to mosquitoes. And obviously if you've been bitten by ants as well. Now, if you are stung by nettle, obviously, or you've got an infected wound, you could use plantain on it just on its own. However, you can combine plantain with a herb which has got more of an antibiotic action if you need to, such as yarrow. To make a poultice, just crush, chew or bruise the fresh plantain leaves and apply them directly to the affected skin. Cover the leaves with a gauze wrapping just to hold it in place, and then change that poultice when needed. So it's really simple to make something. You just chew it up in your mouth and put it on the affected area, and then wrap some clean gauze or some clean cloth around it until it feels better. Snake bites, not something that we have a huge problem with in the UK, but if you have or you've got snake bite, use plantain both internally and externally. You can apply a poultice of fresh plantain leaves directly to the bite and it will draw out the venom, and then take 2 tablespoons of freshly pressed plantain juice or a teaspoon of plantain tincture if you make it, and the tincture can also be used as a poultice if the fresh leaves are not readily available. Cystitis, diarrhea, respiratory tract infections, ulcers, colitis. The juice of common plantain leaves is beneficial for calming inflammation of the mucous membranes, includes the membranes of the respiratory tract, digestive tract and the urinary tract. Sore throats and swelling of the gums, add a tablespoon of pressed plantain juice to half a cup of water and use as a gargle at the first sign of a sore throat, because it will reduce the inflammation in the gum tissue. If you have constipation, intestinal problems or IBS, plantain seeds are excellent at relieving any of those problems. because of the fibre and the mucilage released in the infusion. So drink plantain tea. You can place 1 teaspoon of dried plantain leaves or 1 tablespoon of fresh plantain leaves into a cup of boiling water. Let it steep for 10 minutes, strain out the leaves and drink it. I always like to add in my contraindications, and here it is for plantain. This is really for pregnant women. Should not be using plantain. In fact, to be fair, if you are expecting, then before you embark on herbs, find a qualified clinical herbalist to chat with. I say this because many herbs can cause a contraction, and that's not something you want to experience. I'm not saying plantain will, but when you get into using herbs and you want to try things out, most ladies, let's be fair, you're all sensible. You know you're going to protect yourself and your baby. But I always just like to say, don't use anything. And if you're pregnant, it's best to go and speak to a clinical herbalist or a physician. Plantain also contains, as I've said, vitamin K, which I have spoken about many times before. Usually you find vitamin K in all green plants, and it's an anticoagulant which will cause problems for anyone who's on blood thinning medication. So I just need to get that across. If you are on blood thinners or you've got somebody in your family, don't ingest it. Use it externally, get rid of a sting, bite, use it as a salve, but don't use it internally. So moving on to the spiritual side of plantain. Plantain is connected to the planet Venus, the element of earth, and is feminine in energy, and it encourages strength, courage, divination, healing, and protects against negative energies, hexes, and harmful spirits. Healing-wise, it is associated with the healing energy and is used in spells, rituals, and charms to promote physical and emotional healing. Grounding, because it has wonderful grounding properties, and it will help you to connect with Earth's energy, providing stability and balance. Communication. Now, some practitioners believe that it aids communication, enhancing psychic abilities, divination, and spirit work. Prosperity, sometimes using spells or intentions and rituals to attract abundance, prosperity, and success in various aspects of your life. And it has the ability to protect by absorbing any negative energy and to giving that stability that you need. Again, back to grounding. Now, you could hang some dried leaves in your car to keep them, or keep them in those little cotton bags to protect you from negative energies and to protect you whilst driving. You could bless your home with it by drying it and using it in either a loose incense or adding it to other plants to smoke around the home. And don't forget to open those windows to let the negative energy or stagnant energy out. That's a good thing for, as I'm recording this, we're coming up to Beltane. So I always think whenever we come to another festival, it's always a good idea to have another clear out of any energies that have appeared since the last time we had a festival and we went round the wheel of the year. So use plantain if you want to at this time of the year. And as always, the best way to work with a plant is to get to know it and how it will work with your energy system. Now, we're all different, and what might work for one person will be completely different for another. Plants have such a great wisdom to teach us, and they're not in any rush. They're quite happy to wait. They've been hanging around waiting for us for thousands of years, to be fair. Now, if you're in the Northern Hemisphere and listening in, then no doubt plantain is starting to appear. In the Southern Hemisphere, it may well have gone to seed by now if you're in Australia, New Zealand or South America. But wherever you are, it will be there next year. You can't learn every plant at once, so just take your time to link up with one and move on when you're ready. As I've got lots more to cover, and one of them, you might listen into this and think, oh yeah, okay, plantain, I got it in the garden, or you might already make salves with it, or you might already use it. But how deep have you gone with your connection? The basics of plantain I have sort of talked about today, but the rest is down to you. Now, if you want me to make some videos on making salves, etc., or doing things with some of these herbs in a later date when I've gone through the section that I'm going to be covering for the next few weeks, then perhaps we can look into something like that. If you do, drop me a little comment in the description box below, and we can look at that for another time. So if you have been listening to my other podcasts on herbs and how to use them, and are thinking, well, hang on a minute, she's talking about energies, but you haven't been and listened to my podcast on energies and how to start working with the energies of plants, don't forget to listen to that one as well, and perhaps recap on that when you've listened to me waffling on about all these herbs anyway, because we only take in so much information at any one time. And I find it with myself, I get all enthusiastic about another plant and I'm scribbling away, writing about it and learning things and putting it in my journal to use for later times, and then I go on to another one and I go on to another one, and then I perhaps find a book with some more information in it, or I'll go to cold peppers and I'd forgotten about that as well, I can use that with plantain, or I can use that with nettle, and then I've completely forgotten where I'm supposed to be. And why am I doing this? What was all this about in the first place? And all of my podcasts that I'm doing about herbs at the moment are not generally on eating the herb or using it for medicinal purposes. Although I've included them, I am very much into the energetics of a plant and how you build a relationship with a plant. It can take up to a year to gain a relationship with a plant. So if you're just jumping into this now thinking, I'm going to go make myself, and I'm going to go and do this, and I'm going to try that when I've got a sore throat, I'll make a gargle, I might make a tincture. I read somewhere, somebody said that's a very, very singular dimensional way of doing things, is just taking the plant. If you just take the plant and use it to treat, then it's very, very singular, and you're not going to gain the whole aspect of the plant. So it can take up to a year of working with a plant, using it, letting it teach you. And once we start integrating these into our systems, we don't forget it, because it becomes part of our cellular memory and it becomes part of who we are, and we become part of the plant. Now, if that's a bit too woo-woo for you at the moment, then that's fine, because this is your path, or this is your journey, and doesn't really matter. But I just wanted to remind everybody that that's why we're kind of here, is to learn about these plants in every single aspect. So thank you for listening in. That's all I really have to say about plantain. I don't want to go too deep into all these herbs too much, because quite frankly, if you don't nod off, I might do. I have also started a new channel, which I will link in the show notes. It's for meditation, creative visualization, that type of thing, to relax and chill and perhaps spend some time. The meditations aren't long. I don't know about you, but I can't do too long a meditation. I can't do them lying down. I nod off, and then I wake up later and think, what did I do that for in the first place? And if they are too long, we all get bored, don't we? But they're about 50. I try and keep them under 20 minutes, because I don't want YouTube to also jump in and stick an advert right in the middle of the lovely time that you're chilling out. Because I don't get paid for my YouTube channels, because I'm not big enough, I can't decide where YouTube puts the adverts. If you are having a problem with any of this and you are listening into anything, let me know. If like all of a sudden it's shot an advert in, and just let me know, and I'll see if there's anything I can make an adjustment to. However, going back to the new channel, I started it because not everybody listens into these podcasts and wants to do walking with gods and goddesses, or even wants meditations and creative visualizations. So I'm recording them and I'm slowly adding them to a new little channel, and you can just pop in and in and out and see if there's something there that you think, I quite like that. At the moment, there'll only be a couple on there. I've done one which was going into a spring garden, and I have done one that is for Beltane. So if you're listening to this in about 3 years' time, there'll probably be a lot more on. But if you'd like to come and join me on there and have a listen, let me know. Leave me some note, something in the comments, and tell me how you feel about meditation. Was it the right amount for you? Was it just enough? Was it creative enough? Did it allow your mind to expand itself out, or was it just nice to listen in and shut down because somebody's talking, and allowed you to just shut everything else out, switch off your phone or any notifications, and just listen in and have a moment, sort of 15-20 minutes of tranquility for yourself? Let me know how you get on with that. As I said, thanks for listening in. Thanks again to my Patreons for their support. Kate and Carolyn, I will see you over inside Patreon for all the usual things that we get up to in there. And I will see you all again very soon as we walk this plant medicine and energy journey together. Much love and light and peace in your grove, and I'll see you again very, very soon. Bye for now.